Hi, I am Marcus Vance. Today, we're going to dig deeper into one of the most complex and tangled topics in world politics, the legacy of Henry Kissinger in the Middle East. To understand what is happening in the region today, we need to go back to the 1970s and understand the logic of the man who, in essence, laid the foundation for the modern conflict. Last time, we talked about his famous shuttle diplomacy, but let's be honest, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies a complex strategy, the consequences of which we are still feeling to this day. Scene: a world on the brink, 1973. Imagine this: Egypt and Syria launch a surprise attack on Israel on the holy day of Yom Kippur. Israel is on the verge of defeat. The White House is in a panic. It is at this very moment that Henry Kissinger, then the US Secretary of State, steps onto the stage. But his goal isn't just peace. His goal is to win the Cold War. For him, the Middle East was just one of the fronts in the global confrontation with the Soviet Union, which supported the Arab nations. The three pillars of Kissinger's strategy that changed everything. 1. Managed chaos instead of a just peace. Kissinger didn't believe a comprehensive peace was possible. Instead, he implemented the doctrine of managed conflict. The logic was this: as long as the Arabs and Israelis were dependent on the US, one side for weapons, the other for pressure on Israel, the Soviet Union would be left out. He deliberately excluded the Palestinian issue arm from all negotiations, considering it a minor nuisance. He planted a time bomb, ignoring the root of the problem, which would explode decades later. 2. Flipping Egypt was the key to everything. Kissinger understood that without Egypt, the most powerful Arab nation, there could be no united Arab front against Israel. His shuttle diplomacy was aimed primarily at Egyptian President Anwar Sadat. He offered him a deal: leave the Soviet sphere of influence and make peace with Israel in exchange for the return of the Sinai Peninsula and generous American aid. This fractured the Arab world and made Egypt a US ally, but it isolated it from its neighbors. The foundation for the future Camp David Accords was laid, but the price was high. 3. Weapons as the ultimate argument. During the 1973 war, Kissinger organized Operation Nickel Grass, the largest military airlift in history to supply Israel. This saved Israel from being overrun. But after the war, the same Kissinger used delays in weapon shipments as leverage to force the Israelis to make concessions and return territory. He created a system in which Israel's security became directly dependent on American military aid, a system that is still in place today. Legacy, genius, or villain? So who was Kissinger? For his supporters, he is a genius of Realpolitik. He prevented a regional war from escalating into a nuclear confrontation between superpowers, pushed the USSR out of the Middle East, and laid the groundwork for the first peace treaty between an Arab nation and Israel. For his critics, he is a cynical architect of instability. He deliberately ignored the rights of Palestinians, bought peace at the cost of dividing the Arab world, and got the entire region hooked on American weapons and influence. He didn't resolve the conflict. He froze it in a configuration that was advantageous to the United States. Today, when we watch the news from Gaza, the tensions between Iran and Israel, the complex web of alliances and enmities, we see the long shadow of Henry Kissinger. He did not create this conflict, but his actions shaped its modern form. The key question he left behind is this: what is better, to strive for a just but perhaps unattainable peace, or to pragmatically manage a conflict to avoid a larger war? There is still no answer to this question. This was Marcus Vance. Subscribe and take care.